Welcome back to I Have Questions. In parts 1 and 2, you heard Corey Watts talk about freedom, travel, perspective, and how saying yes can reshape a life. But now, in part 3, we bring it all home. This chapter is about roots, the people who shape us, the classrooms that test us, and the moments that stay with us long after we've grown up and moved on. If this has sparked your curiosity, please hit like and subscribe to I Have Questions with Michael Ruland. It helps the show grow and brings more curious minds into our conversation. So let's wrap it up because
I have questions.
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 I pity the fool that doesn't have questions, which I do.
Well, I do remember we talked you into taking Miyoshi's class your senior year. Do you remember that?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yep.
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 The
I
CAD.
think that's probably what set you up to do your current job now with computers and keyboarding and management, right?
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah. 100%.
That might have been the longest semester of my life, and you weren't even my student.
Right. Yep. I was never
God.
known for being an easy one. That's for sure.
No, but your mom got you through. She
Yes,
after
she
I don't
did.
know if you even know this, after you graduated, she used to still stop at my table during parent teacher conferences just to say hi, because she and I talked so much about you. She felt like we needed to keep going.
That sounds very par for the course for Cheryl.
Yeah, it's your mom.
Yeah.
And then were they your niece and nephew or cousins?
Yes. My niece and nephew.
Niece and nephew. Then they came through, and so then I got to see your mom again for real. So it was very cool. So cool. Well, all right, my man. We're going to change the questions now. So now it's the curious questions, and you can answer in one word or a sentence or a paragraph, whatever floats your boat, my friend. All right. And there's 5 of them. They're easy. One of them you've already lived, but hopefully you can come up with another answer. So, all right. First one. Favorite holiday?
Ooh, Halloween.
Halloween. Awesome. A place. Okay. I think you'll be really good at this question. A place where you absolutely need to visit in the next 10 years.
That me personally or the people
Yep.
listening? Me personally? Okay.
No, you want to
South
visit.
America. That's my next goal. South America. I want to see the Amazon, so that's my goal.
Awesome. The Amazon scares me. I won't lie. But
Yep,
I want to
scares me too.
I want to see Patagonia.
Yes.
That's a place that I think would be really like spectacular. But
Yeah, that's on my hit list as well.
That's
Just
on your
doing the
hit list as
entirety
well.
of South America.
yeah, awesome. I'll come with. Laura won't mind, right?
Let's do it. Not at all.
All right, a time period. So this isn't a place. A time period in history or the future that you would like to visit one day.
I mean, I think I would like to go into the past, and I would like to go to when Angkor Wat was being built in Cambodia.
Good call. So you saw that, right, when you were back there?
Yes. Yep. I did a sunrise and a sunset there, and I spent 3 weeks in the city of Siem Reap outside of Angkor Wat, and just got to travel around Angkor Wat and experience all of that history. It was fantastic. It was incredible.
I hate you. I'm so jealous. It's not even funny. That is so cool. All right. Favorite book that you have ever read?
Prisoners of Geography.
Geez, way to think about it. Wow. That one's right there. Prisoners of Geography, people. There you go. And then finally, one food that makes you think of home.
One food that makes me think of home.
Yep.
God, I would have to say there's a Watts family staple that is a ridiculous comfort food. That is spaghetti noodles, fried egg, and diced up little smokies. As strange as that sounds, it is the poorest, most comfort food you can imagine, but that is just a family staple of mine.
That, by the way, is exactly why I asked that question. Because, right, it's not about the food that we love or have to have. It's what brings us comfort in our minds. And quite frankly, I think usually it is some kind of crazy conglomeration of foods. And
Yeah.
And I this one covers crazy conglomeration. So good job.
Absolutely.
All right, brother, we're about at the end. So your turn. The show is yours. One, did I miss something? Or is there anything you would like to add? Or do you have a question for me?
Yeah. I would like to know from your perspective what it was like dealing with me in my my hardened times as a
Yeah.
student of yours.
Well, as you may or may not remember, you guys were my first class ever. That was my first year teaching, but I had been at Cedar Crest for 3 years prior to that, so I knew the things. I also had coached your older brother in baseball that year before, right? So I knew your story a little bit coming into it. And if you also remember, your whole class there were more of you, there were more kids like you in your class than not like you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I earned my keep that first year. No, you know what? I say this a lot and too much probably, and people get tired of me saying it. But the fact is this: you guys reminded me of me in school. To be honest, I was perfectly capable at being a good student,
Mm-hmm.
but I chose not to be for 100 reasons, right? For 100 reasons. And so I think, to be frank with you, it was almost more of a comfort zone issue where I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. I've lived that. I understand the theory here. The fact is I had to weigh every day today, because let's be honest, every day I had to yell at you guys for something.
Yep.
Right. But I had to weigh, is today a day that I'm going with the soft, they clearly need a soft touch today, or do they need the drill sergeant touch today? And,
Absolutely.
right. And I don't know whether I don't even care, to be frank, if I'm old school or new school or what that sounds like. But everybody, I think, needs both of those. Right. And I think that was the problem, was which approach should I be taking today? And of course, because there was so many of you all kind of needed a different approach every day. So it was zero to do with math, to be honest. I mean, I was brand new teacher, so I was like, it's about the math, but I knew better. I knew it was about creating that connection that you guys would start believing the words that I was telling you about math. And it was a little tougher with you guys at first, but I think I can very solidly and accurately say that it made the deepest connections too.
100%.
Right? 'Cause
Absolutely.
here we are chatting. And I mean, your guys' group, I still follow and keep in touch with so many of you guys. And it's probably because we went through so much in that damn portable.
Yeah. If those walls could talk, oh
Those
gosh.
walls could talk, right? And so I don't know. I didn't find it hard, to be honest with you. I found it really invigorating, actually. How's that for an answer? And because of you specifically, I at one point in my life had Buddhas from all over the world in my classroom. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You rubbed my belly before a test one day. I almost punched you in the face. I still have that Buddha with the globe above his head.
Oh, that's awesome.
That you bought. Oh yeah.
That's fantastic.
So I don't think teaching you was difficult. It was memorable, and I had to pay attention. But I can't complain. You used to bring me McDonald's if I turned a blind eye to you being late. Remember?
Hey, right? You got to pay the toll.
So no, I miss teaching. I really do. And I've always said that, even when I became an assistant principal, because of the really tight connections you can make. Yeah. So I don't know if that answered your question very much, but I do stumble along with my answers. So, all right. I'm also going to point out to all 6 of my followers that it was nice of Corey to put a painting I made for him front and center the whole time.
Oh, this hangs there 24/7. This has been in every house that I've ever lived in. This has this was in my school bus and drove around the country with me. Yep, I had it up on the walls of my school bus and drove all around the country with it.
I think you asked me for a car on a drive or
Mhm.
something. And I'm like, I don't paint cars. What is wrong with you? And so I managed to make a landscape scene with just the very front end of an old car. So
Here we can pan into it. There you
yeah,
go, sir.
the shadows worked out really well.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I thought I'd point that out since
Yep.
you've been very stylistic with your camera there. So, all right, my friend, I'm going to ask you one last question and then holy smokes, then I better let you go. This is a long chat. What is one little piece of advice you would give a brand new teacher?
The one piece of advice that I would give a brand new teacher is, make those connections that you were talking about, like I was that kid that kind of was, at some points felt like a lost cause and was told by other teachers that I was, that. And it took somebody like you to come in and, create a friendship, a relationship, also a mentorship. You were still a mentor and still very much a teacher and an authoritative figure, but you were a friend and you cared. And that was one of the most important points of my entire high school experience was having you, and having this relationship that not only were you the teacher that would help me with whatever I needed, you were there to talk, you were there to listen, and, you were there for my good days, you were there for my bad days, you were there for all of it. And just being kind of that shoulder to lean on and, knowing that I could have open dialogue with you and tell you how I was feeling and, having somebody that like you that was just supportive of me, when I'd caused enough ruckus to be kind of written off by a lot of other people that, it really did make the difference. So I would say for those new teachers that are out there, making those connections where needed is extremely important. And don't give up on the tough ones, even though we might have been a pain in your butt, you and what you did has literally shaped my entire life. It's kind of wild how I look back on it now and realize how much of what I've done comes from people like you believing in me and just saying that anything you want to do is achievable. Exactly like you said it earlier. I was perfectly capable of being a good student. I just kind of chose not to. And making sure that we're not writing these people off just because they seem like a tough cookie to crack, is important, and just giving a little bit extra grace and time where needed, I think is incredibly important for students like that and people like myself who were in positions where we may have been a little bit disenfranchised, whether that was our own doing or, just the way the world worked. Yeah. That is something I would say is very, very important for new teachers.
Awesome. Well, you are too kind, sir, and that is great advice to a new teacher. So thank you for sharing that. So, all right, my friend, I need you to tell your family. I could say your two brothers and mom, but there's more to that family that know me. So tell your family that I send my love.
I will.
Go up and tell Kyle that I love following and creeping on his family, and I hope you continue to stay out of trouble, and when you hit the Amazon, I'll be there in spirit for sure. So
I'll bring you something back, don't worry. We'll find something. We'll see. Find something cool for you.
Awesome. All right, Corey Watts, thank you so much for doing this, and we will talk soon.
My pleasure, sir. Have a great day.
Thanks again, Corey. It was amazing catching up to you. So that brings us to the end of this 3-part conversation with Corey Watts. If you've been with us from the beginning, you've heard a story that stretches from a school bus in the Cascades to the jungles of Nicaragua, from a kid who pushed every boundary to a man who now chases freedom, perspective, and purpose with intention. What I love most about Corey's journey is that it reminds us of something simple but powerful. People grow, goals shift, and sometimes the kid who drove you crazy becomes the adult who teaches you something about resilience, curiosity, and saying yes to the world. These conversations are why I started I Have Questions, to sit with people who make us think, challenge our assumptions, and who remind us that life is indeed bigger, stranger, and more beautiful than the routines we fall into. If you enjoyed this episode, Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you've got thoughts, questions, or a story of your own you want to share, send me an email at ihavequestions2025@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being curious. And as always, I'll be back soon because, yep, I still have questions. Oh, hey, P.S. Picture this. I was trying to do some research ahead of Corey, and I stumbled across this. In the early 1500s, as you approach the Valley of Mexico, you see a shimmering city rise out of this vast lake. This is Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire, one of the most astonishing cities the world has ever seen. It's built on an island in Lake Texcoco. It was a place where engineering, spirituality, and ambition all collided. The city held hundreds of thousands of people, connected by long stone causeways and a network of canals that worked like watery streets. Think Venice. Canoes glided through the city the way taxis move through Manhattan today. At its heart stood Templo Mayor. It was a massive twin pyramid dedicated to the gods of war and rain, a reminder that the Aztecs saw this world as a balance of power, sacrifice, and nature. But what made Tenochtitlan extraordinary wasn't just its size. It was literally one of the largest cities in the world at that time. It was its innovation. Those Aztecs built chinampas, which are floating gardens that fed the entire city, 300,000 to 400,000 people. They engineered aqueducts to bring in fresh water. They designed the city that didn't fight the lake, it lived with it. This city is actually buried now underneath modern-day Mexico City. But at the origin of all of this was a prophecy. The Mexica people, Aztecs, were told to build their city where they found an eagle perched on a cactus devouring a snake. When they saw that sign on a tiny island in the lake, they didn't walk away from the challenge. They built a civilization on top of it. And the Mexican flag to this day shows that symbol as resilience. This just shows that Tenochtitlan is a reminder that curiosity and courage can turn the impossible into a capital city that still captivates our imagination centuries later. Peace, love, R.